Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a very surprising episode of the podcast. Y'all thought I was gone, and I would have said y'all were right for thinking that because, from y'all's point of view, I should be gone. I gave up, whatever you want to say, but I am back and I'm looking to getting back into the podcast life when I have time. Now, it is going to be a lot different. There's some things that I have learned from just this little bit of time of living life and everything, and especially I now listen to podcasts on the way to work and from work, which is about an hour drive from me, and a lot of the content that's out there is a smidge boring, and it's just I don't know. I mean, it's just tough, and I want to make something here that can rival that. And I have some plans for this podcast. Now the background is just gonna be me playing some 2K because, well, what else is there to do to give y'all some background stuff? This camera I'm using currently, horrible. I'm gonna be so honest. It is so bad. Y'all don't want to see me. I'm not gonna talk about the game I'm playing very much. I'm expecting to lose these games. It just gives you something in the background if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, you can't see it, and that's perfectly fine. Alright, so let's just jump into it. Why were we absent? Why is it just me? You guys probably have so many questions, right? And I just want to get out in front of it and say, A, the reason it's just me isn't anything with Houston or Josh. It's hard to find time for all three of us who all work. I started working full time. We'll get into that later. Um, and just all have our own lives to meet very often and talk about things. And um, also, I feel like just we could have been doing, I don't know, a little more consistently or whatever, but I actually think I find consistency when it comes to a podcast is not what I want at all, because consistency just makes it where you have to find something to talk about, and whether you're moved or not, and that just isn't the most entertaining thing when you have to talk about, for example, the Locked On podcast for all those teams. I'm a big Blazers guy, as y'all know, and when I listen to that, it's like we've had to talk about the same thing. Like, one podcast could have sufficed for a lot of what we're saying, and so I don't want to have to kind of be able to find stuff to talk about if there's nothing there. The second is I find podcasts when it comes to sports that I'm not learning something to be insanely boring when I'm just, sitting there listening to the same thing and there's no new information. When you get no new information from something you're listening to for an hour, nothing new, nothing anything. It's just kind of talking about the same old. It's just not fun. So that's why my idea for this reboot is that it's going to be an interview style podcast where I'm going to bring people on and I'm going to interview them. And I'm going to figure out how sports impacted their life, their view on some things. I want there to be a revolving door of people where you get to learn about as many people, and hopefully we can get into some more of their true feelings. And I just want to be the one that's just giving them the questions and letting them showcase um, what their life has been like. Um, so that's kind of my main idea right now for that. I really just really want this to be as entertaining as possible is my main goal. Not necessarily to, originally it was like, oh, I can make a career out of this. No, I can't. We're going to talk about that later. But podcasting is not a career option, but it's something you can do fun and just try to entertain as many people as possible. And, give people, even if no one's watching it, maybe the people I interview get something from it. And that's kind of my goal now, more so than let's just try to get as many views as possible. Let's try to, be consistent, and let's just try to get a brand deal. Let's try to do that. My the way I see it has completely changed, right? I'm no longer just thinking about, you know, the monetary or the fame value of it, right? It's more of a, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's more of like I want to just give people an outlet to discuss some stuff and just let people talk about who they are. Um, that's gonna be the main goal. But let's get into how my life has changed since the last episode, which I believe was quite some time ago. Sorry for that music right there. Was quite some time ago. It might have been, we might have just been coming off the Super Bowl, um, since y'all have seen us, because two episodes that we filmed, which were the interview style, both didn't upload and got lost, and that was just demoralizing to get all the way there. You feel like you're starting to get a rhythm a little bit. We were really consistent with our uploads, and then boom, it's gone. You know, it was it was horrible, but you know, it had to happen, I guess. Uh, you know, and then we never really thought about it again, the whole podcast and everything. We got busy, and that's how it happened. And I recently just moved out of my parents' house. Um, I started a full-time job working for my dad in insurance. So, I've learned already a lot just working full-time. You realize how tiring it is working that 9 to 5 life, how much free time you had when you were not, when you were in high school or you were in college or whatever. And, you learn a lot, and I have been learning, but, um, you know, I think it's been good for me, but I am wanting to start something that I feel passionate about, and this podcast could be it, and just being able to like document some of my, thoughts at the time and stuff. Um, so I just want to talk about how I feel about sports media as a whole. Is kind of going to be my discussion point of today. Is how do I feel about the landscape? And we're going to go through. I separate them in my mind. We're going to have the landscape of Twitter or Twitter, Instagram, TV, YouTube, and I'm going to talk about like how each of those make me feel in terms of, as a sports fan or anything I'm really thinking about with those. So, I guess let's start with, to me, the worst offender of just horrible sports media, and that's Twitter. Overall, I deleted Twitter. I think Twitter's just it's it's something for sure. It's just there's no real. It's all rage bait, including the sports. It's all engagement farming. It's all clicks. It's all how can I make something that makes people the most emotionally attacked or happy. Just like it's all an appeal to emotion, and it's just fake news everywhere. It's just like NBA Twitter used to be, a place where it was never a good place by any means. Nothing about, you know, sports and the way fans interact with each other online has ever been good. In person, I've never, like, Texas Tech is known as notoriously bad to opposing fans, and I went to an Oregon game versus Tech at Tech, and I had a blast. No one was really mean at all, you know. And I mean, they did throw stuff, and there was one guy who's spewing alcohol on people, but he was doing it also to Tech fans. He was just drunk and up top in one of his suite and feeling himself. He was in his suite and high and mighty compared to the rest of us. But um, that's just how it is with some of those things, you know. Um, but I feel like sports fans, when we actually get to see each other, that's the thing about people in general, when we actually get to see each other, we do better. But Twitter's just the worst at everyone is just an account name, and every comment is just a chance to make someone angry because it's a little funny to make people angry. And it's just, it's the worst of them. The second worst to me is Instagram, for sure. Instagram is just comment baiting, but like barely. It's not as bad as Twitter, where it's fake news that gets people, or like specifically, the goal isn't to make people angry. The goal is to be polarizing and a little bit wrong. Like, you'll see a top 10 list, and it will give the top 10 of, top 10 quarterbacks. It'll give 9 really good answers. Right. 9 of those people are exactly who I would say if I had to give my top 10 list. And then one's off, and they just want you to comment about the one. They just want you to be like, yeah, Bo Nix is not a top 5 quarterback. He's my favorite quarterback right now in the NFL. He's not top 5. They'll put him, or Jane Daniels is closer. What's a good example? Drake May, Kyler Murray, someone like that, where it's like, yeah, of course, they could be a franchise quarterback. There's a different level when you're talking top 5, right? And they'll put those up there, which, again, I mean, as long as you see through it. But even I sometimes would get on there and just feel like, oh, it's so dumb. Like, oh, I know so much more than these guys. Da, da, da. And I have to realize it's just an appeal to get me, and a trick to get me to want to comment on it, you know. But that's all for Instagram. Instagram, it's a lot of people. Twitter is more of like the rage baiting people make the post, while Instagram, the rage baiting people comment on the post. So if you don't read the comments on Instagram, it's really not too bad. But when you start to read the comments on Instagram, then you can quickly get into an argument with some guy just over random sports stuff. And Instagram, I've also been trying to stay away from, just as a sports fan. Um, the third worst of them, Twitter's the worst, Instagram's second. Then I would probably actually put the actual media, ESPN, and stuff like that, because their entire goal at these major ones is to get a bunch of the ladder of Instagram and Twitter to post about them, and that's more eyes on their show, right? And that's kind of the end goal for them. And I mean, it's an end goal, right? It's it definitely works in terms of ratings and money, and at the end of the day, those are what comes up. I think Stephen A. Smith, his antics are kind of ruining some of that for the average person, because I mean, that picture of him playing solitaire ridiculous, right? Completely ridiculous. You're playing solitaire during the NBA Finals, which is something you get paid lots and lots of money to do, and you can't even do it. Most people, and I understand there's like this, when it becomes your job, it becomes less interesting. Um, I understand that, and if he said that, but the thing is, like, he's pushing more shows, more whatever, you know, towards himself. He's doing a lot of advertising for himself and ESPN and a lot of two more Sirius XM shows, I think. And it's like, is Stephen A. Smith really what most people want to see? Or is it what most people who are still there want to see? Because some people have already stopped watching because of things like that. You know? It's like, are you really placating to the average sports fan? Or are you placating towards the average fan that's already on ESPN? And is that a great business model? I mean, I'm not too much of a businessman. You can't quote me on everything, but oh wow. You can't quote me on everything, but you know, I don't know if that's the best course of action here for them, and we'll see how it works. I mean, they're losing people to Stream East. Not actually, but you know, people don't watch sports media other than the actual sports games. And I just think it is sad that it's all become. And Colin Cowherd, I think, might be to blame for that a little bit. He kind of started the ridiculous takes, and those are entertaining people. But I think it's like with a lot of things, at first it can be entertaining, and then we have to say, whoa, um, this is no longer fun because it's been done so long. Like some things are only entertaining for so long, and I feel like we're kind of getting away from that in general. Disney remakes, all that type of stuff, and it's just like everything that was entertaining in the past must be entertaining now. If we've liked it before, then we must still like it. And that line of thinking it's a little silly, to be honest, but um, that's what current most media is, not just sports media, but especially sports media. And to finish 11th, we'll talk actual sports here in a bit. Now, the next worst one to me, in terms of what are we, what's its identity and stuff. Podcasts, typically, the people in podcasts tend to be more passionate than the other people, and more dedicated and more in tune and experienced with the actual ins and outs and everything. The podcast that I mainly listen to, I'm a diehard for DMVR, which means I'm part of their program of uh, I pay money to be. It was like $36 a year during their sale to be able to get all their exclusive. They write articles about the team for their Denver Broncos and stuff like that. That's probably my most listened, the one I most enjoy. But even that one, right now, they are cranking out 5 episodes a week in the middle of the off season, talking about stuff. That's fun. I think it could go down a little bit and still be fine. I wouldn't complain the money I was paying, but I would understand. Those people, that's their jobs. They can go in there. The fact that they're doing it every day is good. But the Locked On, which they talk about one specific team, Locked On Ducks, Locked On whatever, Blazers, that one is worse because they stick to they stick to just talking about their what's happening actually. There's very little the DMER guys will kind of go off on side tangents, which is fine on this type of talking about stuff that's not really that this type of season where we're in the midst of the off season for terms of football. Basketball I'll get to who I listen to for NBA basketball in the podcast world, but it is, in full swing. But in the NFL, we're in the off season. You can take a little break. You can find something else to do. And when they interview the players on DMVR, those episodes are good. Interviews, I love listening to what they actually have to say, and maybe getting some questions that maybe they've never thought of, because those guys are not former players. When it comes to the former player interviews, I feel like they're kind of competing to see who's the best sometimes, and they want to just say things that are like, how it is. We all know. So I think it's enjoyable sometimes to hear non-athletes interview athletes more so than athletes interview athletes. And so, podcasts really enjoyable. I listened to Small Ball with Kenny Beecham, King of the Fourth Quarter. Whenever I'm listening about the NBA in general, and he does a really good job of. He only has about one pod. I think it's two a week. Could you do a little more? Like he didn't do one after each NBA Finals game. Yeah, but at the same time, like when he talks, he has a point. He has a script. He has everything to go off of there, and I really like it. And then to me, the absolute best form of sports media is YouTube videos about sports. It is just you have to have some passion to edit all those and write a script. It's video as you're writing an essay just like you did when you were in English class, right? Oh, what the heck? Ignore that. But you're writing an essay just like you did whenever you were in school. And you remember how long those essays took, right? You remember how long those essays took in school, and you're like, whew, man, someone does that just out of pure passion on a weekly basis, and the information, the research, it's all so good. To me, I couldn't do it. I don't have the time or the editing skills or the passion to be able to do what those guys do, but I started to enjoy sports way more when I exclusively there for a while. I just had YouTube, and that was the only form of sports media I was consuming other than watching the actual games. Um, it was enjoyable. I would suggest that anyone who really is maybe having trouble, like, oh, I used to love sports, they're just not the same for me. I suggest you listen or watch YouTube videos only. Don't go on Twitter, don't go on Instagram, don't go on any of those, and just go on YouTube and, hear from people that are insanely passionate about this type of stuff. Alright? The other thing that's gonna be new is we used to have the parlays of the video, because in my head, the reason I did those was a parlay, a gambler type thing that's the most likely person to sponsor me. And if I want to get a sponsorship fast, I should make parlays and hope that one video blows up. Excuse me. Hope that one video blows up, and then people are like, ooh, and Prize Picks, DraftKings, whatever. It's like, hey, I want to sponsor this to show, because you made that pick and some people used it or whatever. The fastest sponsorship is always DraftKings. I don't know if I am necessarily. I'm not going to make parlays for sure anymore, because I do think it is also kind of ruining sports, and I can't say that in good conscience and then say, but this video we got to make the best prize pick. Use my link in description, or everybody let's gamble, because sports are for entertainment, not something to make money on. And yeah, so I just am not going to be making the parlays anymore, and I'll be asking the guest their relationship with sports gambling. Also, completely forget every episode up to this point, because just because I've had lots of conversations with Houston and Josh, they're going to be some of the first guests that are going to come in, and I'm going to interview them and ask them some of the same questions for sure. Maybe, but more of an interview style where they're doing the talking and I'm not. And I will have um, an interview which I will give my own things on these topics, and we will dive into some things that happen in the sports world also, but it's going to be mainly an interview. But I will eventually tell y'all what my answer to all the questions I'm going to ask people, because how can I expect them to share and not share myself, you know? So, but yeah, um, that's going to be the show moving forward. Do I know? I haven't talked to Houston or Josh about anything yet, but I don't know if it'll be every episode. Some episodes are on there with me if they have their own questions that they want to ask. Um, but yeah, another thing I'm going to just kind of mention here, I guess, um, how I'm going to stay involved in sports other than this podcast is right now, I'm just going to give you some of the stuff. So I told y'all I moved out. I'm in an older duplex by myself right now. But um, for those who don't know me, if you're listening, um, then I am currently an insurance agent um, in the Waco area. So, that's where I'm actually doing my stuff. And then right now, currently on the weekends, I am working. I'm working with the pizza truck that I've worked at my entire life. And I think instead of working at that pizza truck, which I'll still do occasionally if they really need me, and I don't work that many hours on the weekends with them, um, but rent is expensive, and it is a thing. But I think I'm going to start reffing and see if I enjoy that or not. I think it's a great idea. Stay in the game. It's something that the pay's really not bad. You can work your way up to varsity games. I mean, to be a varsity ref for college, I don't know. It depends on how much I like it. I have to really have thick skin, which everyone thinks they have thick skin. Do we actually? I don't know. I'm gonna find out whenever I start to referee and people are yelling at me. And I gotta, you know. And the game, everyone, I mean, I am a ref complainer. I am a huge complainer about the refs, and maybe I'll learn, wow, this is 10 times harder than, I give these guys credit for. There's going to be a lot of things like that I'm going to, learn or whatever. But yeah, so I'm thinking about refereeing, to stay in touch with sports. My sports career was basketball. I loved, played up till freshman year. Coach left. Um, Honestly, I was, a little. I would gain weight for football and lose it for basketball, and got kind of lazy. Didn't want to lose the weight again. Didn't want to go through all that, so I ended up not playing, and I regret it sometimes. Not playing basketball further on, just because I did love it so much and it was so much fun. But I continued to play football up until sophomore year, I wasn't very good at football, to be honest. I was a very aggressive basketball player, but I could just like not find the willpower to be a very aggressive uh, football player. Which aggression in football isn't like a hey, it's like good if you. It's a must. Like if you're gonna play, you better be aggressive, and it just wasn't there for me, and that's okay. I've also joined a rec league. We are 1-4, so I'm back in basketball. I love it. I am way worse than I remember. Scoring is tough. Um, I think it's a confidence issue, maybe. Maybe it's just a form issue. I'm not practicing. It definitely could be that. I probably need to walk down and shoot some baskets at the local park. No longer having a goal up in the neighborhood or the street, is obviously gonna hurt my shooting ability a little bit. So, I mean, it is what it is there. And yeah, but I joined that with some friends. It's co-ed. I play with my girlfriend and my friends, so it is fun. I would suggest that if anyone's in like that tweener stage in life where you aren't playing no more, but you aren't quite out. You're not 20, 5, 26. You're still like, you aren't that far removed from playing anything. I would heavily suggest joining a rec league, and it is so much fun. And on top of that, on top of the straight fun, it is great exercise. I get gassed. I started going to the gym again after playing because I was like, wow, you don't realize how out of shape you are until you have to run after some people, you know? And so, yeah, I would heavily suggest that. But I've been kind of rambling. This is a ramble sesh. If anyone's watching this, shout out. Shout out Bark if you're watching this. I know H ain't gonna make it all the way if he starts to watch it. Shout out my girlfriend Lizzie. Anyone else that's watching, Bailey, if you made it this far, you deserve uh, a spot on the pod. So go ahead, comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify. Seth, if you watched all the way through, go ahead, comment down below. Say, hey, I need me a spot, and we'll get some going. Do I know when the next episode's gonna be? No, I do know Wednesday. Me and Houston will be watching the draft, so I might try to do like a little draft type of not how do I want to say that live stream. You know, didn't say pod, but it's not pod. Draft live stream of just our reaction as a Blazers fan. I am gonna give a fair warning. Houston will be the knowledgeable one you're learning from there because I am the exact opposite of knowledgeable when it comes to prospects pre-NBA. I'm not a huge like if they didn't play Oregon and I didn't even watch every Oregon game, I watched I would say a majority, but I don't know, it might be a minority of games. So don't expect me to be very knowledgeable. Like I know Patrick Queen, I think it is from um, I don't think it's Queen. It might be. I think his last name's Queen. I don't know if it's Patrick. That might be an NFL guy. Exactly. I don't know. I know he's linked to us from Maryland or whatever, but I don't know many of these guys coming out of school or anything. So just a fair warning. But I still will hopefully live stream that. And yeah, hopefully we can maybe get some episodes if I have any free time. Um, Big shout out to anyone who's on my rec league team because we're gonna go win this weekend, and we're gonna get a spot in the third place game, despite winning. Ooh, I think we're 1 of 4 right now. Uh, no, we're 1 of 3, but we're still fourth right now at 1 and 3. So hopefully we can figure something out there, and if not, it is just for fun, so we won't get too heated. But a shot. Yeah, I think I'm going to end this pod. Gonna go upload it, get just the audio for Spotify, and just show, if y'all listened all the way through, show some love, man. Just comment, say literally anything if you're listening, and most importantly, eat some chicken wings. But I'm gonna warn y'all, I don't think Touchdown Tate's Chicken is ever gonna be an actual place. We might change the name because I realized cooking chicken wings. I don't have a. It's when you're finding your passion, you think, oh, that makes money. A lot of people get passion confused with what might make me money, and I was definitely one of those people who was, getting those confused. And I was like, well, I'm working at a food truck now. Of course, I'll want to own a food truck. No, I don't think I do. I don't think I do. But, if you're along with me for this ride, subscribe. I'm probably not going to do the shorts thing. Definitely not going to do the shorts thing. It was, those were rough. I don't have any experience video creation, and it showed with those. So, those were y'all saying, you were like, man, I somehow found this 10 subscriber channel, and I'm pretty sure I know every single one. So I think there's like one of you, and you're probably a bot. If those are your thing, I'm sorry. But in the next one, I'll give my take on what I want the Blazers to do in one of these pods, because this one is getting a little long. But I'll give my take in that in a future episode. Trying to give y'all something to look forward to. Trying to give myself something that I need to do. We're going to go ahead and play this last 46.7 seconds until, both will end at the same time. That'll make me feel good. So, yeah, again, lots of rambling. Don't really know why I made this, but nonetheless, y'all have a blessed day. And remember, if there's one thing you could take out of this pod, it's try it just once. Try to just watch YouTube a little more when it comes to sports. That's Good Sports is really good on YouTube. I really like his stuff. If you're into the NFL, he doesn't do any other sports. So yeah, make sure y'all like, subscribe. Thank you so much for coming back. Let me know. Comment down below if you want to have any sort of conversation about sports with me. We'll find a way to get it done. But thank y'all so much. I will catch y'all in. I'm gonna figure out a way to get that to not happen. But I will catch y'all in the next one. Make sure like, comment, subscribe. Have a great day, y'all.